My name is Philip Harrelson. I'd like to welcome you again to the Barnabas study, and I want to tell you about another book, one written by Brother David Huston. And Brother Huston, his books are at roshpinna.com. Rosh Pinna means cornerstone in Hebrew, and Brother Huston pastors in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. He's been to our church before that dreaded COVID hit back in 2020. He was here in 19 and did a holiness seminar here. And I have reviewed before his volume 2 of How to Teach Holiness, but this book is volume 1. And it is called How to Teach Holiness. And again, I would just recommend Brother Huston coming to your church as well. He's got a very good presentation that he does on holiness. I mean, he's got PowerPoint slides, just a very, very good presentation. And he has been to our church. Now, this book is divided up into 5 sections. Holiness Matters, Holiness Defined, Holiness Understood, Holiness Pursued, and then Holiness Perfected. And it's a little over 300 pages. And again, Brother Huston did an excellent job with this book. In the area where that he talks about holiness defined, he goes into the meaning, the purpose, the pursuit, the cost, and the motivation for holiness. Now, the one there, the cost of holiness, why do we pursue holiness, or should we pursue holiness? And Brother Huston gets into that part about for his name's sake. And then he gets into, in the third part, Holiness Understood, he gets into the eternal attributes of God. Now again, I think probably the most famous writer that has done work on the attributes of God would probably be the Puritan Stephen Charnock. And certainly I have reviewed that book or mentioned that book in times past about Charnock and the attributes of God. But Brother Huston really emphasizes the matter that God's chief attribute is holiness. And so he does get into that. He gets into the area, again, the principle of identity according to its kind, the principle of love, which is the great commandment. He gets into the principle of authority, the dominion mandate. He gets into the principle of beauty, interior adornments. He talks about the principle of modesty, the principle of integrity, the principle of salvation, and then he goes in and he reviews those. He also leaves it into that part, chapter 23, cleanse yourself, garbage in, or garbage out, and holy in. And I think that's probably very important for us to understand in this matter whenever we do start talking about and giving consideration to this matter of holiness, that we have to realize that we've got to get the garbage out and that we've got to get the holy in. He talks about pursuing a holy heart, keeping the inward man clean. 2 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 1 about cleansing ourselves from the filthiness of the flesh and of the spirit. So again, two-pronged approach to pursuit of holiness, and then not only pursue a holy heart, but pursue holy hands, and that means keeping the outward man clean. And then he gets into his conclusion, the spirit of holiness, long does not equate or does not equal holy. And I think that's pretty obvious what he gets into there. He treats the matter of hair, both for men and women. And I know, again, we live in a day where that is certainly perhaps even mocked or downplayed, more so than it has been in previous generations. But I would just say, I was listening to a sermon a little earlier this morning of Brother Paul Mooney. I was preaching the 2009 district conference up in Wisconsin. And he was doing a seminar on the emerging church. And then there was another message that I was just kind of listening to when I was driving, and it was the message that he preached at Brother Waldron's back in 2016 at the Great Apostolic Preaching Conference. And he just got to talking about the matter. He said, I think that all of us would probably say that as we look at our world, that the church is being affected by the world, and that generally speaking, if we're not careful, that churches can be even more and more worldly than what they were even a year ago. But what happens is I think that pastors sometimes are a little hesitant to preach and to teach these areas, but just keep this in mind, especially I would say this toward our pastors. If ever there needed to be men of God to stand up and have boldness and courage to stand up in their pulpits and preach these matters of holiness, right now is the time. And this book, and Brother Huston has written some other books. He's got one called Jesus Bought a House, and he's got another one called The Sons of Oil. Those books have a strong emphasis on the matter of not only just personal holiness, but corporate holiness as a church. And I certainly would commend these books to you. And so, again, I'll put the link down below in the description, so that if you want to choose to go and look at Brother Huston's books, that you can do that. But again, I'm for us supporting apostolic authors. I was at the North Dakota camp meeting back during the summer, and I had the honor of being their daytime Bible teacher. And Brother Chuppy, his church has a bookstore, and Brother Mike Worley and his wife run the bookstore. And so I got back there and picked out a number of books, and I think I helped them to sell out Brother Huston's books there that they had. And so again, I think that it's important that we read apostolic authors, even though sometimes they're a little hard to come by, that we seek them out and we find and read these men of God, because they can certainly impact what we're doing in our local church. So with that, once again, I appreciate you stopping by to watch, and until we meet again, the Lord bless, and I'll see you later.